Hi there. This is our second video that will take the place of class on Monday. So I wanted to go through a few things before we begin. So if we look at our agenda for today, we're going to review what tasks we're going to accomplish in this video and the prior video, discuss the content for chapter 5, part of it. We're not going to go through the whole chapter. In this video, there's a small quiz that you will take, and it's very easy. If you listen to the video, it's very easy. Our homework has been delayed an additional day, so it's due at the end of the day on Tuesday, and then we'll plan to meet like we normally do on Thursday via Zoom, and hopefully we'll have a Kahoot. So if you're signed up for a Kahoot on Thursday, then you should be ready to go. If you had a Kahoot for Monday, I will send you an email so we can reschedule. So with all that being said, the first thing I want to do is show you where all the content is for this particular lecture. So I'm going to go to Canvas here, and in Canvas, this is our site. If you go to modules, we have put together here within modules, I have a week 5, and within week 5, this will be the lecture from Professor Chapman. So if we click on it, open a new link. Okay, there he is. All right, well,
welcome class.
There you go. All right, so that's the conclusion of week 4. Then the next thing that we have within our week 5 is going to be the PowerPoint that I'm going to use today for chapter 5. The PowerPoint from Professor Chapman is in the, if you go up here, we have all the PowerPoints up here, and it's the 4 loops here. So and this is the same PowerPoint that I'm using here. It's just chapter 5. I just keep them all together here in this one spot for easy access. So, all right. So this is the PowerPoint I'm going to be using. This is a video from Dr. Charles Seaver. If you remember, I talked with you about him. He is a professor at the University of Michigan. He does the Coursera Python course, Python for Everybody. He is an excellent teacher. So if you're confused by what is in the videos from me or from Professor Chapman, look at his videos as well, because we learn through multiple people, and different people are going to strike how we learn best. So, if you're confused, look at what he has to say. And then last thing here is the collab that I'll be using today for chapter 5. So if we open it up, here it is. So we start with that. So with that being said, let's begin our class for today with if statements, if else. All right. So the first thing I'm going to just really briefly start with is conditional tests. So with all programming languages, there are these conditional tests where we do, for example, the for loop. We learn to do the for loop, and the for loop will continue until it comes to the end of the loop, unless we tell it something different. And one of the ways that we tell it something different is we put a condition. And a condition is it's going to be either a true or false type of expression, meaning that a condition will continue until the criteria that's being asked for is false. So we think about conditions all the time in mathematical equations, for example, and this is how Python, by the way, does mathematical equations. The equals is this is x is a variable, by the way, x, and then it's a double equal sign, equals. So that's equals. Not equals is x, an exclamation mark, and then an equal, not equal. Greater than is x with the greater than sign pointing towards the x, which is very similar to greater or equal is very similar to mathematics that we're accustomed to. X greater, equal, and the number, whatever it's going to be. Less than is just going to have the caret sign pointing towards the number that it's less than. And then less than or equal to is the caret sign, and then the equal sign. So an important thing to note is that the equal sign is always the second in each of these when it's going to be dual types of symbols together. So look at the not equal, it's the exclamation mark, then the equal sign. In the greater than, it's the greater than, and then the equal sign. In the less than, it's the less than, then the equal sign. So that's a good way to remember it. For me, that makes it a lot simpler than trying to remember, oh, is it equal an exclamation mark or exclamation mark equal? The equal is always the second character in those expressions. Okay, so once again, a Boolean value is either true or false. And when we code our Python Boolean values, condition statements, it's really doing a test for true or false. You don't think of it when you're coding it that way, but it'll soon become apparent. So an if statement starts with some type of variable. It could be just, you don't have to have a variable, but in this particular example here, we have age equals 19. So age is our variable, and we're saying that's the age. And we're saying if our age 19, because that's what the value we gave it here, is greater than or equal to 18, then we're going to do something. Print you're old enough to vote. Now, a couple of things to remember to see here. Just like the for loop, where it ended with a colon, the if statement ends with a colon. And just like the for loop had an indentation, a tab, so also does the if statement have this tab. All right. So is anything within the indented area is part of that if condition here. All right. So let's just look quickly at our code. So take a second and bring up that code that I just gave you. So you might want to pause the video, but get the code up and let's look at it. Okay, so hopefully you have gotten the code up. So the first item here within the code that I gave you is just a simple x equals 6, print x if it's greater than 5. Okay, so we know that 6 is greater than 5. And we come up with a statement of true. Okay, if we were to take this same code, I'm just going to copy the cell. And if we were to say, you know, if x equal 4, and we do the test here, print if greater than 5, it's going to be false. So like I said, Boolean values are either true or false when we're creating these tests. All right. We can do lots of other mathematical expressions, and you're going to have a chance to do that more so with the homework. But for right now, this is your first, test. Is it true or false? So one of the things that I am encouraging you to do as we go through this video is, I want to make sure you watch this video. So I have a very simple quiz, and in points throughout my lecture, I'm just going to tell you that the answer to question 1 is A. It has there's no value to A. I'm just telling you this is the answer that I want you to put down. And so you should have a piece of paper next to you somewhere as we're going through the video. And I'm going to have 5 questions, and I'm going to tell you what letter you should put in each of the each of the questions. And then I will know that you did watch the video. I know this seems very juvenile, but I find that if I want to keep people moving forward, I need to give points. So I'm giving you points simply by watching it. And so for your first answer here, the answer will be Z. Z like in zebra. And I'm writing it down myself so I don't get confused. Okay. So we can see here in our next piece of code here on our Google Colab, we say, which is what the PowerPoint said, we define a variable age, and we say age equals 19. And we say if age is greater than or equal to 18, and here's our colon at the end, print you're old enough to vote. So here I go. Okay, now if I put within this particular phrase, print, I rely on social media to inform me. Will this print if this answer is not, if I say, if I make the age 17, what will happen if I make the age 17? Will both statements print or not print? Nothing prints. Nothing prints because why? Because it doesn't meet the condition. It is false. Now, if I make it 21 and I print, it's going to print both statements because both statements are in the if statement. All right. So if I was to add something else and say, you know, print age, you know, it'll just continue to just give us everything that we do within the if statement. Now, if I was to put this print age and I indent it, this is only one condition. So it's going to get the same result. It's going to say it did this one test and then there's nothing else for it to do. And then it'll just do this print age anyhow. But that's not going to be the case if we get to the else part of this particular assignment. So going back to our PowerPoint, the if statement works like this. We have the variable, it tests the expression. If it's true, then it's going to print it. If it's false, we saw it did nothing, right? Because we didn't tell it to do anything. So an important thing to note is when you're doing testing and you're not sure if your code is working properly, it might be useful to print if it doesn't work as well, if it doesn't meet the condition. So then you know that your code isn't just correct with syntax, meaning that it didn't bomb because you didn't code something wrong, but it's also not a logic error. Booleans is where logic errors become very common. Logic errors meaning it ran, but it didn't do what we wanted it to do. All right, so here we have now the if else, which is really where we want to head with this chapter. And this becomes a very important part of coding. And if you've taken Java, C, any other languages, you should be already accustomed to this type of coding. So here in this particular example, we're still within the voting, exercise here. And we say our variable age equals 17. And we say if age is greater than 18, take note, we always have our colon here. We say print you're old enough to vote. Now, in this case, is age greater than 17? No. So it's not going to print you're old enough to vote. It's going to it's going to say else, and take note. Now this else also has this colon at the end of it, okay? And notice it is lined up with the if. So in structured coding, we want to use good form. And at this point in the game, I mean, I know there's these comprehensions where you can consolidate to make code more efficient. We're not really at that point. We want to use structured coding techniques to be able to really evaluate our code just with sight. So in this particular example here, if age greater than 18, print you're old enough to vote, else, and this is greater or equal, right? Greater or equal, else print you can't vote yet. All right. So we go back to our collab here, and we get to the if else statements, and we say, you know, age equals 17. This is what just what we talked about. Now, if I was to put here, print, I'm just going to print age, okay? Now, at this point, take note, I have not printed age within my function. So when I run this, it should bomb. And it says, wait a minute here, we have an else, but we have this code here. So you have to, this if else has to go together in order for it to work. So I'm going to just print age here. And it didn't print the age. Why? Because age is 17. If I change the age to 18, we said greater than or equal. It's you're old enough to vote, and it is giving us the age. So a couple of different things here to keep in mind. Keeping everything that happens within the if else. The if in this particular part, anything that's within this indented period, you know, will execute within that if statement. All right. Anything that if it falls out, if it's a false, then it's going to do whatever is within the else. Both situations here, take note, the if and the else are both left aligned, but the conditions within, actually the items that are going to be executed within each of with the if or the else are indented. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to change the age to, you know, we can change it to 15. Okay, so we know it's not going to work because you're not old enough to vote. If we want to add something here, we could print age, right? So it's going, this print age though is not in that particular if else. If I print, you know, if I change my age to 19, it's going to print it twice, right? Because the if else ended here, and now it is once again just left aligned. So it's not part of that if else. So alignment is essential for knowing when something is going to execute in the if else. All right. So for our second question on the quiz, the answer is going to be 11. For people not watching this video, they're going to be totally confused. All right. So our next thing here is we get to a little bit more complicated because we don't always have two activities or two conditions. We might have several conditions, right? You can think about if you can't, you want to buy some tickets for a show and they're all different ages. If you're under the age of 2, you don't pay at all. If you're 2 to 10, you might have an age. If you're 10 to 65, you have an age. If you're 65 and older, you have a different age, different price. So you have these different categories, and you want to loop through each of the different categories to determine, what is the appropriate price per ticket. Okay, so back to our PowerPoint here. So this is called an if, else statement. That's a mouthful. If, else statement. And how does this work? So let's say our age is under 4, all right? So if our age is under 4, then our price is going to be 0, all right? If our age is greater than 18, then our price is going to be $10. Else, so there's always going to be in an if and an else somewhere. It's going to be the last item. We could have many of these ifs, which are intermediary checks, but the else is the last item within this condition. So else, our price is going to be 15. So let's look at this for a minute. So the first thing I want to note is, take note, the if statement, here's our colon again, our if, here's our colon, our else, here's our colon. So in these particular examples, we have this price, which is a variable. So in this particular example, age less than 4, we are saying for this variable price, make it a 0. If it's less than 18, but it's greater than 4, or it's 4 or greater, then it's going to be 10. Else, it's none of those, and it's going to be 15. And then here we have your simple print in our F statement, print F, which is our formatted statement, which we know. Our quote, your cost is, here is our curly Q bracket to represent the variable price, period, quote, and print. So let's go to our collab. Okay, here is my collab again. All right, so we're setting our variable here of age to 24 in this particular case. So we're saying if age is less or equal to 4, so if it's 5, and in this case, we unless we were going to use integers, right now we're just using numbers. If it's less than 4, our price is 0. So it looks at that, less than 4, price 0. Okay. If it's less than or equal to 18, our price is 10. And if it's less than or equal to 65, our price is 15. So let's kind of run through this first of all. So we know that 24, our price is going to be $15. Now this is where it gets a little fun. Let's say that we want to break it down even further, right? So in order to do that, we would have another else if, and we have our age, and we're going to say greater than 25. And we're going to say the price for these folks is going to be $13. And we'll make it just like these. Okay, so here I've added another else is. Now we know I already made an error, so we have to go back here. Else, elif, I have a criteria, I have a price, and then I go on to the next one. So if my age, so if I say my age is 22, my price is $13. So we can continually add these. You can see how this can be very useful in adding this. Now, I might want to say, what was my age? I can say print, print age, right? We can do this. And it's within the elif. So in this one, it's going to print the age, and then it's going to come down and do the final print. If my age is 10, I don't check for age. I don't print age here. So you can see that within these conditional statements, each of these iterations of a conditional statement, it will only do what it's supposed to do within that conditional statement. So why don't you now take your code, and why don't you also add an additional else if statement for a price and ticket. So, maybe you want to do like something similar to what I did, or maybe you want to do something if age is between 65 and 70. I don't know. But, add another else if. And after you've done that, stop the video and do that work. And then when you're ready, continue on. All right. All right. So the answer to your third question on the quiz is going to be fun. F with a capital F, U, lowercase n, fun. Capital F, lowercase u, n. All right, that is the answer to question 3 for your quiz. All right, now the next thing we want to really look at is multiple conditions. So this is really, these were single conditions. It was just testing for one age. It wasn't looking for other things like if age and the day is Monday, or if age and the day is, Sunday. It didn't look at that. It just looked at age. It didn't have any special kind of criteria other than age. But we can look at multiple conditions, and that's where it gets even a little more complicated. So let's look at our PowerPoint again. And here we can just look here within the flow chart that was done for our else if. And you're more than welcome to go through it in more detail. But here we start with age. If the condition of age is 4 is greater than the age, then if that's true, then the price is 0. If that's false, it looks at the next condition. Else if age is less than 18, if that's false, then it's going to print, the price is 15. But if that's true, it's going to do something different. So, so understanding that is pretty important. So you can review this in more detail on your own time. So the next thing I want to really look at is checking multiple conditions. All right. So a multiple condition would be, like I said, where two things have to be true in order for that condition to be true. All right. So we have a couple of different ways that we can do this. We can use, if two things are going to be true, we use an and, but maybe there are times when we want to say if age is, over 10 and, days of the week is Monday or Tuesday, there could be different criteria here. So you could even have an and an or. So you can have lots of different choices here, but let's just keep it simple here. So let's check in this particular case with age. So if age equals 4, we set it up, age equals 4. So if age is less than or equal 5, or if age is greater than, no, if age is greater than or equal to 5 and less than or equal to 65, print you owe $20. So if people between the ages of 5 and 65 have to pay $20, else your price is free. All right. So if we look at our code here, let's just kind of go to the code here for a minute. Multiple conditions. We're saying age is 4, and if the age, and the age here, we're saying is an integer, and we're saying age equals 4, and if age is greater than or equal to 5, and age is less than or equal to 65, you print you owe $20. Well, in this particular instance, we run it and your price is free because the age is 4. If we make this now 14, you're going to owe $20 because you're in that particular range. So this particular condition only happens when both are true. Okay, both have to be true in order for this condition to say you owe $20. All right. But the or condition is a little different. So the or condition says you only need to have one of those happening. So if age is greater than 5 or age is less than 65, your price is free. So if our age is 4, our price is going to be free. This is probably not the best example. You could probably think of some betters. We could say if age is 4, and we could have another variable. So we could say if age is 4 and day equal Tuesday, so if age is 4 and we'll get rid of this. And it doesn't like it. All right. Okay, as I was going through and I had made some changes to this condition of or, if you recall correctly, I created a day equals Tuesday. Now, and as you know, when I went to run this, voila, it didn't work. And I'm like, why isn't this working? Well, the answer is actually a little tricky. We assigned this value Tuesday to this variable day. That is something we've been doing all along. However, in the Boolean, we are doing a comparison. And when we're doing a comparison, if you remember from our PowerPoint, going right up here, a comparison equals, it's the double equal. So when I come back to my Boolean comparison, I need to have another equal here. I run it, and my price is free because the day is Tuesday. Okay. I mean, I can change my age to something, 18. My price is free. So the fourth question, the answer to the fourth question is equal, equal, a double equal. All right. So this will conclude. We'll start our conditional tests with lists on Thursday, but hopefully you have found this to be very useful. And you now should go to the quiz in Canvas, and there are 5 questions. And the last question is going to be when I'm going to ask, did you watch the video? You're just going to say yes. You're going to select yes. There's going to be an option. So hopefully you have found this to be useful, and we will see you on Thursday. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day.